Hello, hello, hello. Approving Google Ads budget is a strategic decision. It's not financial. The approval of your Google Ads budget determines the growth of your organization, determines the profit margin, determines the revenue. Today's episode of the podcast is going to help you understand those questions that you need to ask. These questions are important because these questions will help your team think commercially. It will help them think from a business results perspective and not focus too much on vanity metrics. Let's start by looking at the data. Research shows that 76% of Google Ads budget is wasted. Let that sink for a minute. These budgets are wasted because the team that is executing Google Ads, which is far away from the business leader, from the C-level people, this team are sometimes not using the right setting within Google Ads. They're using the wrong keywords. The account sometimes is not structured for commercial perspective. And sometimes these people believe that the be-all and end-all of success of Google Ads stays within the platform, and they ignore the other moving parts that is important for Google Ads to be successful. As a business leader, I want you to understand that there are a series of questions that you can ask. You do not need to be a Google Ads expert, but when you ask your team these questions, you will help them start thinking from a commercial perspective, and this will help your team improve when it comes to getting results, commercial results from Google Ads. The first question you need to ask your team is, what are they tracking when it comes to conversion? Just basically ask them, are we tracking the right conversion? As a business leader, if you do not know what conversion means, it's actual actions that happen on a website to show that that person has completed what you want them to complete. For example, a lead generation website. When someone completes a form, when they come to your website and they fill out the form and they submit the form, that is seen as a conversion. For an e-commerce website, when someone buys a product and it just shows the thank you page after you've taken payment, that's a conversion. But you need to understand as a business leader that that's not really the actual conversion that gets you the business revenue. The actual conversion from a lead generation perspective is when someone fills out the form, speaks to your sales team on the phone for a period of more than 1 minute, and also actually signs the dotted line and you win them as client. That's for lead generation website or like a software company. When someone actually signs the contract, that is a conversion because that has a direct impact on your business. But that is not necessarily recorded within Google Ads or recorded within your analytics. But there are things you can do to make sure that that gets fed in. But most teams don't do this. So when you ask the question from your team as a business leader that are we tracking the right conversion? Is the conversion that we're tracking, does it actually show business results? Then you start helping them to start think that way. That's the first question you ask. Then another question you need to ask is, and this is a tricky question because most times teams will come to a business leader that they want the Google Ads budget to increase, and the business leader will push back and just would not want to spend more money on Google Ads because most instances they're not getting the result. But you need to understand as a business leader that Google works in a way that there's a certain amount of conversions on the website that Google expects your website to make every month, between 30 and 50 conversions. That conversion would then help Google know that, okay, this is what good looks like, and it will feed the machine and continuously update your account to improve conversion. The problem is when your website is not getting as much conversion as Google, the baseline conversion that Google expects, then you're technically wasting money because Google is not able to learn as much through the machine learning to get the results that your business expects. So what I'm asking here is, you as a business leader, ask your team, ask them the simple question, are we spending enough on Google Ads so that Google is learning about our business to help us improve? Get them to give you a very, very good answer. If they're not able to provide you a good answer, then probably there's something wrong with your campaign. And if you have such problem, you can reach out to me and I'll be happy to help. My name is Femi Olajiga. I'm a growth marketing consultant and I can help you improve the conversion of your Google Ads campaign. Then another question you need to ask your team is, fine, we're doing Google Ads. What exactly is our website optimized for? This is a tricky question because by default, most websites are optimized primarily for SEO. So sometimes some websites do not have a dedicated landing page for Google Ads. So if your team is sending the same traffic that is coming for SEO, that's where they're sending Google Ads, it's really difficult to optimize a landing page for SEO and Google Ads. So you need to ask your team the question, are the website's landing page and funnel optimized for Google traffic? You do not need to know how they're optimized, but you just need to ask them, have you optimized the website? Because a lot of time you see organizations spend six-figure on Google Ads on a monthly basis, and they've been doing it for like 2-3 years, and they hardly ever touch the landing page. They hardly ever touch the website. So they're optimizing and improving the Google Ads platform, but they're not doing anything to the website. It's like someone having a dirty house and driving a fancy car. Your house is literally where you sleep, where you live, but you're giving an appearance outside that looks good, but the actual place where you come to rest is not good. That is the exact same scenario when it comes to websites. I've seen organizations that don't do any optimization on their landing page. They don't do anything. They just continuously focus on the Google Ads platform. Google Ads is a platform that gets the traffic. The traffic does not convert in Google Ads. The traffic converts on your website. So when you ask your team, are your websites optimized to receive Google traffic? Then you start making them think, and that would help get better results from your Google Ads. Then another question you need to ask them is, okay, is the Google Ads budget connected to expected revenue? You need to ask them that, okay, overall, what do they think the role of Google Ads is when it comes to your business? If your team cannot explain how Google Ads contributes to your business, then you have a problem. But when you ask the question, ask them, how are you connecting the Google Ads budget to the expected revenue that we're getting? What role does Google Ads play in the overall revenue generated across the business? Then you start making your team to start thinking in a strategic manner. So for every $1 or £1 spent, you need to ask your team, how much revenue are we expecting? Then you need to ask them the commercial question. How much or how long does it take, the payback period, for us to start making profit? When you ask this question, then your team will start thinking beyond simple metrics. Google has metrics like impression. Impression is the number of time people see your Google Ads. Like clicks, the number of people that after they see those Google Ads on Google and click on it to your website. It's easy to optimize Google Ads to get high numbers, but those high numbers do not necessarily interpret to business result, to revenue, to profit. So when you ask your team, how are we connecting Google Ads to expected revenue and profits? You are giving them a very serious homework, and then being able to answer that question would improve the performance of your Google Ads. Another question you need to ask them if you're a lead generation website is, how many leads do we need per month? And how many of those leads need to be qualified? What this means here is, say, for example, For every 5 leads that come to your website, one of them makes a final sale, signs the contract. So you know that, okay, for you to get one lead, for you to get one sale, you need 5 leads. So in a month, if you need like 10 leads, then you know 10 good leads to sign off their contract, then you know, okay, the number of leads that your website needs to get will be 50. So these are the numbers that you need to ask your team that, okay, what is the expected number of leads that we need to get to be able to hit our margin and make profit? And then another question you need to ask as a business leader is, ask your team, what is the current cost per acquisition and how far are we from the target? You have some organizations where, for example, your cost per acquisition to acquire a new customer is maybe £180, but that is not profitable. For you to be profitable, maybe you need to get it to like £100. So it's the job of your team, when you ask the question that what's the current cost per acquisition and what's the target cost per acquisition. If they are overspending and the cost per acquisition is high, when you ask the question, you bring visibility to what the actual target is. You start forcing them. I know force is a strong word, but you start forcing them to think from a commercial perspective. You need to make sure that you are not allowing your team push vanity metrics to you. Metrics that shows that your campaign, your Google Ads is doing really, really well. But when you look at the commercial impact, it's not making money. You're actually burning through your budget. These are the questions that you need to ask as a business leader. Again, you do not need to be an expert. If you're listening to this podcast, write down all these questions. So the next time you're speaking to your Google Ads team or your Google Ads agency, once you start asking this question, they need to give you the answer that you want. And those answers and those solutions that those answers bring will give you the results that you need. Then you need to ask them, okay, we're spending money on Google. How long does it take for us to recoup the cost of what we're spending on Google? And then what is the expected profit per customer? You need to ask your agency and your marketing team, how much exactly in terms of profit are we expecting from each customer? This will help you start understanding that, okay, which of your customer segment will give you more when it comes to profit margins and which of your other customers are not really customers that stay with you too long. And this kind of question will even help you understand the type of profile, the type of the persona that you need to be targeting. Because when you ask the question, what is the profit per customer? And then you start looking at the different customer segments and seeing the profit margins that they bring to your business, you then know that, okay, there's some customer segment that are like a little bit like high net worth customers that make more profits and more revenue for your business. And you start focusing, your team will start focusing because you've asked that question. So they will know instinctively to focus on that. And when you're calculating the cost per acquisition for your customer, you need to ask your team, in their calculations, have they factored in the agency fees? And you need to understand that, okay, if you're spending too much on agency fees, do you really need to have that outsourced? Do you need to be spending 10-15% of your Google Ads spend on agency management fees? This question will start helping you understand that, okay, do you actually just need to hire a growth marketing consultant to help your team build an internal capability and reduce the cost that you're spending on agency partners? These are questions that you need to ask. Then another important question you need to ask is, okay, what is the split between your branded campaign and your non-branded? You know that anyone that knows your brand, it costs less to acquire people that search for your brand. It costs more to acquire people that are not searching for your brand, that are searching for generic keywords. So as a business leader, when you ask your marketing team, how is this budget structured from a brand and non-branded perspective, that will give you insights into how that investment, how your marketing budget is split across. In some instances, you have competitors bidding on your brand, then that kind of helps you understand, are you doing anything to protect that? These will help your marketing team or your agency think more commercially. And then you're not an expert, but you want to ask that, okay, how visible are we in Google Ads? You want to kind of find out that, are they just following impressions? Are they just following more visibility and chasing vanity metrics? You want to know what the priorities of your teams are when it comes to the Google Ads. What I would recommend to you as a business leader listening to this podcast is, it's not your job to fix Google Ads. It's never your job. What your job is to ask clarifying questions. Once you ask clarifying questions, those questions will trigger the right performance. It's like going to a professional coach. The coach will ask you questions. You, as the client, will then be the one to think outside of the box, to think critically, to be able to bring solutions. The same thing is you managing your team. You're not a Google Ads expert, but all the questions I've listed in this podcast, it will make the difference when it comes to growth and profitability. My name is Femi Olajiga. I help and coach business leaders when it comes to marketing, particularly Google Ads. Google Ads is just one section. The website optimization, the landing page optimization, the analytics, and the funnel optimization that ensures that you get good quality leads. Most Google Ads agencies don't have the skill. Most Google Ads experts don't. This skill is called conversion rate optimization and landing page optimization. By default, your marketing team would not have that skill, but you need to work with someone and hire someone that can do a hybrid of optimizing your Google Ads as well as making sure that the landing page is optimized. Someone with commercial acumen to understand that, okay, profit is the goal. The payback period is what is important. If you need help and you need a coach to help you, or even set up your Google Ads or audit your Google Ads, because sometimes you have an existing Google Ad account that is not working. If you need help with that, reach out to me. My name is Femi Olajiga. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can book a coaching session with me. It's even far cheaper to work with a coach that will come in on a monthly basis, a day or two, look at your campaign, make sure it's optimized. And I also set up automation so you don't have to feel the need that you need a marketing team. Small businesses particularly that can't really afford a big agency, I can help you set up the systems to optimize your Google Ads and get the best result. Again, my name is Femi Olajiga. Connect with me. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on the podcast, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll be glad to help you. Thank you very much. Bye.